I forget I want to talk about this. How do people support you in your work, your book, your website, what you're doing? Because I know that they've, first you resigned because you wouldn't go along with their criminality. Then they took your CPA license away. Now, how are you funding yourself?
I basically just work as an accountant, or what they call a forensic accountant. I do a lot of the same kind of reconstructive work that I did at the IRS. It's just that now I'm working for the good guys. So that's what I do for a general living. But my website is freedomabovefortune.com. And the main thing I would ask is just people join my email list so that they can get updates on what's happening in my activism. And I also share activism in other areas, such as the stuff that you do. I have a little radio show myself. It's quite. I don't even want to talk about it, given what the beauty that I see here.
Give me a break. Tell us about your show.
Oh, come on! I got this little piece of equipment. I bought at the Guitar Center. But anyway, it's on Liberty Works Radio Network. So
yeah, they're good folks. That's great.
Yeah, with John
Kottmeyer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tom Cryer, the attorney who was also prosecuted by the IRS, is there. So I have a show on Saturday mornings from 7 to 9 a.m. Pacific every Saturday. So yeah,
I should get in touch with Liberty Works Radio Network. I was probably on about 15 radio stations in 1998, 97, 98. And John Kottmeyer at that time had 30 or something stations he was leasing. And he called up and he said, I'm going to put you on these stations. You got a hot show. And that was like the detonator. It went boom. I mean, the show was already getting big because then I was on 45 all of a sudden. And then these were some big stations in big markets.
Right.
And then other stations heard and picked it up. And I kind of almost got up to about 80 or 90 stations, and then 9/11 happened, and I said it was an inside job. It was fine when I was bashing Bill Clinton. A lot of these conservative stations, not Kottmeyer, but the others said, nah.
Right.
And then Kottmeyer, of course, was unable to keep funding all that. But he's a great guy, so I love plugging Kottmeyer. In fact, maybe I should have him on and plug him. They ought to carry my show again. That'd be good for him. I don't know how many stations they're leasing this time.
Don't think they have too many. He's basically, I can't remember the reasons, but that network that you described from the old days, it was skyrocketing, but somehow I think the government or sponsors were able to derail it.
Yeah, the government went after sponsors and stuff,
right.
And after Kottmeyer. That's what people need to financially support us. I mean, I could never go out and lease 30 or 40 big radio stations. I mean, Kottmeyer did everything, put everything on the line, all his life's money. I think he got some money from race car racing or something. But, I mean, the whole issue is he did that. And then people are like, you shouldn't have sponsors. You shouldn't ask for donations. We need funds, ladies and gentlemen.
It's tough. I guess people think because we have these little jackets for our suits that we're independently wealthy. And, I think ultimately God provides for us according to our needs as long as we ask.
Or that it's bad that the government forces you to give them your money, and then they use that to propagandize you. Right. We're here doing a show. It's free market. If you want to donate or buy the books and videos, that's your business. People say, no, you're not supposed to even sell a book or video. You're not supposed to have a TV show. You're not supposed to create your own media. See how it's doublethink? The media, Lockheed Martin and McDonnell Douglas and GE bomb makers, they can own NBC and stuff, and that's basically taxpayer money and put out government propaganda. But then we can't make a film and sell it, Joe.
Right. Well, I think part of the reason, Alex, is that the government realizes that even today they have trouble obviously telling you it's against the law to speak or to access your First Amendment rights, but to the extent they can chill your exercise of those rights, then all the best for them.
That's right. They demonize us ever capitalizing our operation. Folks, that is a lie of the New World Order. Fund us. The money bomb's coming up. Go to freedomabovefortune.com. Support Joe Banister.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
Joe Banister is our guest. Again, he'll be on tonight. First hour with Jason Burmis. I want to just have you roll whatever you think's important that people need to know about instead of me just throwing questions out in the time we have with you, Joe. And let's not have it be 10 years again until you're back in studio with us. Why are you in Texas? And then get into whatever subjects you'd like.
Attending a training class with my son Robert in the Dallas area, and I really love coming to Texas. I got a lot of friends here, and I just thought, well, I don't know the geography that well, and I said, well, let's see, how far is Austin? 3 hours. You know what? Let's drive to Austin and see if we can say hi to Alex. And so
is that for Front Sight you're here in town?
No, I've been to 2 front sight trainings, and I try to wear this shirt in appropriate environments like like your show. And so this is what I was wearing when I came in earlier, the front sight.
No, I was just wondering why you mentioned it, because we just got contacted by the owner of Front Sight, and I'd heard from so many people that it really is a great training course, one of the best out there. You went through the Treasury Department training. Is it good?
Yes, I've been to 2 of the 4-day handgun courses for Front Sight. It's outside of Las Vegas in a town called Pahrump. A little bit of a drive, but it's really fantastic. I'd say the training is actually better than what I received with the Treasury Department. And of course, my training was, 15 years ago. But excellent training. They treat you with a lot of respect. And I mean, my son Robert attended the class with me. He had handled a firearm a couple times, but I mean, by the end of those 4 days, he was an accomplished holster drawing shooter.
Well, that's the issue. I grew up with the kind of the frontiersman type training. I didn't know until I read history books later that 4-year-old, set them in the lap with a .410 shotgun, teach them the danger, then never let them touch the gun, just, make it an object of great power and admiration that I would get to when I was 5 or 6, get to start learning safety. First, they show you the power. You don't want to get near this in the toy. Then they teach you about it. Then they would take me out, really get on you, take it away if you did something wrong. Okay, we'll work on it tomorrow. Then the target, and by the time I was like 12, I was an incredible shot. I didn't realize everybody wasn't being given that training, how to breathe, how to squeeze, how to always point it at the ground, never point it at somebody unless you're going to shoot them. All those basics of shooting, how to, lead something, how to follow, then how to use a scope. As I got older, this was just normal, for me and people in the rural areas. So I always encourage folks that are getting into firearms to be sure that they do go out and take some training, because you will get in a lot of trouble if you don't have the training. Plus, it's almost useless if you don't have some basic training. But I'm going to shut up. Go ahead.
Well, as you're talking about, I mean, there's a culture that developed in our country, and even before our country was founded. And, of course, doesn't that dovetail with the Second Amendment? It doesn't say a militia. It says a well-regulated militia. And, of course, regulation deals with training, not with choking you with paperwork.
Absolutely. It certainly does. You were telling me a story about your son during the break.
Yeah, I have 2 sons. One just turned 21, Robert, who's with me. And Ryan, who wanted to be with us, is 17, almost 18. And a year or 2 ago, Ryan came to me, and he was learning things about the bigger world out there. And he said, "Dad, there's this guy. His name's Alex Jones, and I'm really learning a lot from him." He said, "Do you ever heard of him?" I said, "Well, as a matter of fact, Ryan, I have. He interviewed me back in 1999 when I left the IRS, and we don't talk all the time, but I'd say we're friends." And he said, "You're friends with Alex Jones?" So, my sons, and I wouldn't say through any prodding that I've done. No,
that's got to be great that separately he got on the right path. And that's another testament to, I better do a better job, because we really are reaching millions of people. That's what I keep trying to point out to the listeners, is a lot of us just take for granted the millions you've been reaching, the millions I've been reaching. I mean, in those front page ads in USA Today, you reach millions alone. I mean, they tried to put you in prison for that. And I'm not trying to whine and say, support us. We're really in, trouble. I want folks to know we are doing this because we love liberty and freedom, because it's the right thing to do, but to also realize this isn't a game. The New World Order really is real.
Absolutely. And I think the thing is, Alex, that as you very well know, that now today we're reaching the mainstream much more than we ever have. 30, 40 years ago, the so-called tax protest movement was largely cloistered and incestuous, and so the government wasn't really worried about it. What they're worried about is us being able to enlighten people who otherwise would never know about this or question it.
And that's why they persecute people like yourself for free speech, because
Absolutely.
They want to have a chilling effect.
Back, as I said, that if they don't show an Irwin Schiff or a Joe Banister behind bars, then people question, well, wait a second, how can Joe Banister be saying what he's saying and still be walking to the grocery store and walking out there free? That won't register with people. So the government has to try to imprison us. And of course, as you've also probably learned, though, as difficult as it is to be attacked, a lot of times those attacks can turn into the most horrendous victories for all of us, because it really
No, that's what I've learned. Every time somebody makes up some new horrible lie or tries to set me up, or all the things, the shenanigans. I don't spend a lot of time talking about it in the past, but now I realize it's starting to come to a head, so I'm kind of warning folks. Stuff's getting crazy. That every time I just say, all right, God, I'm going to trust you and go through this, we get blessed after it happens.
Absolutely. Yeah, the blessings, they come veiled as things we may not recognize, but of course, God has a plan that has only somewhat been revealed to us, and we have to trust in Him. And that's, of course, been the strength that I've been able to draw upon. Of course, my friends, supporters, people like yourself, but ultimately Almighty God is always there for you. You just have to open up yourself to Him and realize that He'll protect you. Sometimes it may not look like protection to us, but again...
And occasionally, if you've really committed, and I'm not trying to be all high and mighty here, this is what I've learned and what I've, in history, if you fully committed to God and said, do whatever it takes, use me, sometimes God will let you be destroyed or killed, but that is going to water the tree of liberty, like Thomas Jefferson said. That will sometimes create the giant resistance or awakening.